Welcome to another episode of She's Evolving. I'm Elena, a medical endocrinologist, and I've spent the last few decades helping women navigate the complex world of hormones and health. But today, we're stepping away from the clinical charts for a moment to talk about something much more intimate. We're talking about the plate in front of us. More specifically, how that plate makes us feel once we cross the threshold of 40. And I'm Julia, a clinical psychologist. My work focuses on the landscape of the female mind, how we view ourselves, how we handle the transitions of life, and why so often we are our own harshest critics. Today's theme is something that comes up in almost every session I have: mindful eating for mature women. It's about moving from a mindset of punishment to one of nourishment. It's about finally making peace with food after 40. It's a big topic, isn't it, Julia? Because for most of us, food has been a battlefield for decades. By the time we hit 40, 50, or 60, we've carried the weight of 1,000 diets on our shoulders. Exactly. And if you've ever looked at a piece of bread and felt a wave of guilt, or if you ever told yourself you didn't deserve dinner because you didn't go to the gym, then this conversation is specifically for you. Stay with us, share this episode with a friend who needs to hear this, and let's start this evolution together. The music swells slightly and then settles into a low, steady rhythm. You know, Julia, I want to start by being very honest. Even as a doctor, someone who understands the biochemistry of nutrition, I hit a wall when I turned 50. I remember sitting in my kitchen one Tuesday morning, looking at a bowl of oatmeal. For years, that was my safe breakfast. But suddenly, my body felt different. I was more bloated, I was more tired, and I found myself getting angry at the food. I felt like my body had betrayed me, and my immediate instinct was to restrict. I thought, well, if my metabolism is slowing down, I just need to eat less and less. It was a punishing thought process. I hear that so often, Elena, and I've been there too. For me, the shift was more emotional. In my early 50s, as my kids started leaving the nest and my body began its perimenopausal dance, food became a way to fill a void that wasn't even about hunger. It was about comfort, but it was a forbidden comfort. I would eat something I loved, like a slice of dark chocolate cake, and instead of enjoying the richness, I would spend the next 3 hours listing all the reasons why I was a failure for eating it. That's the punishment we're talking about. It's not just about the calories, it's the mental lashings we give ourselves. That mental lashing is so damaging to our physiology too. When we eat in a state of stress or guilt, our cortisol levels spike. And as we know, especially after 40, cortisol is the enemy of a healthy metabolism. It tells our body to hang on to fat, particularly around the midsection. So by punishing ourselves mentally, we are actually making the physical goals we have even harder to reach.
É vicious cycle. We feel bad about our bodies, so we restrict. Restriction leads to deprivation. Deprivation leads to a rebellion where we overeat. And overeating leads back to feeling bad. For women our age, this cycle is exhausting. We've been doing it since we were teenagers in the 80s and 90s, when the heroin chic or low-fat crazes were everywhere. We were raised to believe that food was an enemy to be conquered. And that's what we need to unlearn. Let's talk about the why behind the change. Why does it feel so different now? From a medical perspective, after 40, our estrogen begins to decline. Estrogen is a multitasker. It helps manage insulin sensitivity and where we store fat. As it drops, our bodies become less efficient at processing sugar and refined carbs. Our muscle mass also naturally begins to decline unless we are very intentional about it. This means the way we ate at 30 simply won't work the same way at 50.
E essa é frito psicológico. A gente tenta aplicar soluções de 30 anos a corpo de 50. Quando as antigas tricks não funcionam, a gente não culpa o método, a gente culpa a nós mesmas. A gente pensa que falta força de vontade. Mas, Helena, não é verdade que os sinais de fome mudam durante esse tempo?
Absolutely. The hormones ghrelin and leptin, which tell us when we're hungry and when we're full, can get out of sync during the menopausal transition. You might find yourself feeling hangry out of nowhere or never feeling quite satisfied after a meal. This is why mindful eating isn't just a trendy phrase, it's a biological necessity for us. We have to learn to listen to these new, sometimes confusing signals.
I love the concept of listening. In my practice, I ask women to imagine their body as a lifelong friend who is going through a very difficult transition. If your best friend was going through a hard time, you wouldn't take away her food or yell at her for being tired. You would ask, "What do you need right now? How can I nourish you?" That's such a powerful shift. How can I nourish you instead of how can I shrink you? Exactly. When we talk about mindful eating, we're talking about presence. It's the opposite of distracted eating, where you're scrolling through your phone or watching the news while shoving salad into your mouth. When we don't pay attention to the act of eating, our brain doesn't register the pleasure of the food. And if there's no pleasure, the brain keeps sending hunger signals because it feels cheated. I see this in my clinic all the time. Women who eat perfectly on paper, boiled chicken, steamed broccoli, but they are miserable. They are physically full, but emotionally starving. And eventually, they break. They end up eating a whole bag of crackers at 10 p.m. because they haven't allowed themselves any joy in their nutrition. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we move into that space of eating to nourish? It starts with quality and intention. After 40, our margin for error with nutrition gets smaller, but our need for quality gets higher. I tell my patients, focus on protein to protect your muscles, healthy fats for your brain and skin, and fiber for your digestion. But do it with flavor. Use spices, use good olive oil, make the food look beautiful. When the food is nutrient-dense and delicious, you need less of it to feel satisfied. And from the psychological side, I suggest the 3-breath rule. Before you take your first bite, take 3 deep, slow breaths. This moves your nervous system from fight or flight, stress, into rest and digest. It brings you into the present moment. Ask yourself, how hungry am I on a scale of 1 to 10? What does this food actually taste like? If you're eating a cookie, really eat the cookie. Taste the butter, the sugar, the texture. If you're going to eat it, enjoy it fully. The guilt is what makes the cookie unhealthy for your spirit.
I love that. The guilt is what makes it unhealthy for your spirit. That's a quote to live by. A short, reflective musical interlude plays. Let's dive into some of the myths we hear constantly. One of the biggest questions I get is, Elena, should I just cut out all carbs? I heard carbs are the reason I'm gaining weight in my belly.
Oh, the carb phobia. It's rampant.
It really is. And here's the medical truth. Your body needs carbs. Your brain runs on glucose. However, the type of carb matters more now than ever. We want to move away from the white carbs, processed flours and sugars that spike our insulin and then crash our energy. We want the slow carbs, sweet potatoes, quinoa, berries, legumes. These provide steady energy, but cutting them out entirely, that usually leads to brain fog, irritability, and eventually a massive binge on bread because your body is crying out for fuel. And then there's the myth of the Last Supper. You know, that feeling of, I'll eat everything tonight because my diet starts Monday. This creates a trauma response in the body. You're essentially telling your system that a famine is coming. So your body does exactly what it's evolved to do. It stores everything as fat because it doesn't know when it will be fed again. That's such a great point, Julia. The diet starts Monday mentality is a form of self-abuse. It keeps us stuck in a cycle of feast and famine. Mindful eating is about the forever. It's about knowing that I can have a piece of sourdough bread today, and I can have it tomorrow too. So I don't need to eat the whole loaf right now. Another question I get a lot is about emotional eating. Patients say, Julia, I know what's healthy, but when I'm stressed or lonely, I just want ice cream. Am I broken? And what do you tell them? Because I know I felt that way too. I tell them they aren't broken, they are human. Food is emotional. It's tied to our earliest memories of being nurtured as infants. The goal isn't to never eat emotionally, it's to have other tools in your toolbox so that food isn't the only way you soothe yourself. If you're lonely, a bowl of pasta might help for 10 minutes, but a phone call to a friend will help for the whole evening. We need to identify the hunger. Is it stomach hunger or heart hunger? Heart hunger. That's beautiful. Sometimes we're just thirsty. Sometimes we're just tired, and sometimes we just need a hug. After 40, we have the wisdom to start telling the difference, but we have to be quiet enough to hear it. Let's talk about the punishment aspect of exercise too. How many women do we know who say, "I ate a burger, so I have to run 5 miles"? It's a toxic transaction. Exercise should be a celebration of what your body can do, not a penalty for what you ate. Especially after 40, when we need exercise for bone density and heart health, if we view it as punishment, we will eventually stop doing it because nobody wants to be punished forever. Exactly. We want to move because it makes us feel vibrant, because it clears our heads, because it makes us feel strong. When we decouple exercise from paying for food, both become much more enjoyable.
I also want to address the mirror trap. Many women our age avoid looking in the mirror, or they only look to criticize. They see the changes in their skin, the shift in their waistline, and they use food as a weapon against that image, either by starving it or by numbing the pain of it.
The mirror should be a place of neutral observation, or even better, gratitude. This body has carried us through 4, 5, 6 decades. It may have carried children, it has survived illnesses, it has walked thousands of miles, and it has felt the warmth of 1,000 suns. To punish it now, when it's entering its most wise and seasoned phase, feels like a betrayal of a loyal friend. It really does. I often tell my patients to try body neutrality if body love feels too far away right now. You don't have to love every wrinkle or every change, but can you respect the vessel? Can you feed it because it deserves to function well? Respect is a great starting point. Nourishment is an act of respect. When you choose a colorful, vibrant salad with some grilled salmon or a hearty lentil soup, you are saying to yourself, "I am worth the effort of this preparation. I am worth these nutrients." And let's not forget the social aspect. So many women over 40 start withdrawing from social gatherings because they are afraid of the food choices or they feel uncomfortable in their clothes. That isolation is so dangerous for our mental health. Connection is a nutrient too. We need social vitamins. If you're going to a dinner party, don't focus on the calories in the appetizer. Focus on the laughter, the conversation, and the shared experience. One meal will never define your health. Your relationship with food over time is what defines your health.
I think that's a perfect place to start wrapping up our thoughts for today. If there's one thing I want our listeners to take away from the medical side, it's this. Your body isn't working against you. It's changing, and it's asking you to change your approach. It's asking for more protein, more minerals, more hydration, and significantly less stress. And from the psychological side, I want you to remember that you cannot hate yourself into a version of yourself that you will love. Lasting change only comes from a place of compassion. If you slip up, if you have a punishment mindset one day, don't use that as a reason to give up. Just take a breath and ask, what does my body need in this next moment? This transition, this evolving, is about reclaiming our power. We spent our 20s and 30s trying to fit into boxes that others built for us. Now, in our 40s and beyond, we get to build our own house. And in that house, the kitchen is a place of joy and strength, not a place of fear. Well said, Elena. Your body is changing, yes, but that's not the end of your story. It's the beginning of a much more conscious, much more authentic chapter. You are learning to inhabit your skin in a whole new way. Thank you for joining us today on She's Evolving. If this conversation touched you, please share it. Let's start a movement of women who eat to live, eat to shine, and eat to nourish the incredible women they are becoming. You aren't alone in this. We are right here with you, evolving every day. Until next time, take a deep breath. Look in the mirror with kindness, and remember, you are worth the nourishment. The acoustic guitar music returns, growing slightly louder and more upbeat. The sound of a door opening and the distant sound of birds chirping can be heard, symbolizing a new beginning. See you in the next episode. Take care of yourselves.
You know, Elena, as we dive deeper into this, there's a phrase I hear constantly in my practice that breaks my heart every single time. A woman will sit across from me, sigh, and say, "I had a bad day, so I was bad and ate the cake. Now I have to be good tomorrow." It's this moralization of food that becomes so heavy after 40. We aren't just eating, we are litigating our worth at every meal.
It's exhausting, isn't it? And from the medical side, I see the physical toll of that good versus bad mentality. When we label food as a sin or a punishment, we trigger a massive stress response in the body. When you eat that piece of cake while feeling intense guilt, your cortisol levels spike. High cortisol actually changes how your body processes that sugar. It makes you more likely to store it as abdominal fat, which is exactly what most women over 40 are trying to avoid. So the very act of punishing ourselves with guilt creates the physiological outcome we fear the most. It's a physiological trap. Exactly. It's a cycle of self-betrayal. We use food to soothe the stress of our lives, the career pressure, the aging parents, the changing household dynamics, and then we use the food itself as a reason to beat ourselves up. It's like we're trying to fire ourselves from our own lives. I want to shift our focus to space 3 of our conversation today, which is really about dismantling these myths and answering the questions that keep our listeners up at night. One of the biggest questions I get is, Julia, is it even possible to lose weight after 40 without starving myself?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the answer is a resounding yes. But the how has to change. In our 20s, we could bully our bodies into submission with a crash diet and 3 days of cardio. But after 40, the body is smarter and more sensitive. If you starve yourself, your thyroid says, oh, we're in a famine, and it slows your metabolism to a crawl to protect you. You can't outsmart a biological survival mechanism. The myth is that less is always better. The reality for the mature woman is that better is better. We need to eat enough protein to protect our muscle mass, which is our metabolic engine, and enough healthy fats to support our declining estrogen levels.
I love that. Better is better. Another myth I want us to tackle is the all-or-nothing approach. Many women believe that if they can't follow a perfect, rigid, clean eating plan, they might as well just give up and eat whatever's in the pantry. It's that perfectionism that kills progress. I often ask my patients, if you were driving and got a flat tire, would you get out of the car and slash the other 3 tires? Of course not. You'd change the one tire and keep going. But with food, we slash the other 3 tires every time we have an unplanned snack. That's such a powerful visual, Julia. And it leads us to another big myth, that carbohydrates are the ultimate enemy after 40. I see women who are terrified of a sweet potato or a piece of fruit. While it's true that our insulin sensitivity changes as we move toward menopause, cutting out entire food groups usually leads to binging later because your brain is literally screaming for glucose. The goal isn't to eliminate, it's to pair. If you want that fruit, pair it with some Greek yogurt or nuts. It's about balance, not banishment. Speaking to balance, let's talk about the why behind the eating. I call it the invisible hunger. Many women in their 40s and 50s feel a sense of invisibility in society, or perhaps they are empty nesters feeling a void. Food often steps in to fill that emotional space. It's not that they are hungry for bread, they are hungry for connection, for purpose, or for rest. That resonates so much. I see women who come in complaining of cravings, but when we dig deeper, they are actually just chronically sleep deprived. If you don't sleep, your hunger hormone, ghrelin, goes up, and your fullness hormone, leptin, goes down. You aren't lacking willpower, you're lacking a nap. We have to stop blaming our characters for things that are actually hormonal imbalances. So how do we move into this space 4, this place of reflection and real change? How do we actually start eating to nourish? For me, the first step is the pause. Before you eat, take 3 deep breaths. Ask yourself, am I hungry in my stomach or am I hungry in my heart? If it's the heart, a cookie won't fix it. You might need a phone call to a friend or 5 minutes of quiet. And from my perspective, nourishing means looking at your plate and asking, what can I add to this to make my body feel safe and strong, instead of what must I take away? Add the greens, add the protein, add the hydration. When the body feels nourished and safe, it naturally finds its healthy weight. It stops holding on to every calorie as if it's the last one it will ever see. It's about building a partnership with your body rather than a dictatorship. You've lived in this body for 4 or 5 decades. It has carried you through jobs, perhaps through motherhood, through losses and triumphs. It deserves your respect, not your resentment. Beautifully said, Julia. As we start to wrap up this episode, I want our listeners to take away one thing. Your body is not failing you. It is changing with you. This transition into your 40s and 50s is an invitation to upgrade the way you care for yourself. You can't use the old map to navigate this new territory.
Exactly.
This is She's Evolving. And evolution isn't always comfortable, but it is necessary. If you felt a spark of connection today, if you felt a little less alone in your struggle with the mirror or the plate, please share this episode. Send it to that friend who is always dieting, or the sister who thinks she's too old to feel good again. We are on this journey together. Remember, eating is an act of self-respect. Every meal is an opportunity to tell your body, I'm on your side. Thank you for being part of this conversation. We have so much more to explore in the coming weeks, everything from sleep hygiene to finding your passion again in this second act of life. Stay curious, stay compassionate, and most importantly, keep evolving. We'll see you in the next episode. Take care of yourselves, ladies. You are worth the effort. Goodbye for now. Goodbye. And don't forget to check the show notes for some of the resources we mentioned today. We're here for you. The sound of a soft, uplifting acoustic melody begins to swell, creating a sense of warmth and closure. Just one last thought. Next time you sit down to eat, try to really taste the first 3 bites. No phone, no TV, just you and the nourishment. You might be surprised at what your body is trying to tell you. That's a perfect challenge for the week. We'll talk soon.